Welcome back. It's still focused on Kenya. We've still got our panelists in the house here. Joseph, before the break, we were talking about the ICC and the implications for the Kenya elections. Can you just wrap up on what actually happened with the ICC case and Ruto and Kenyatta?
Yeah, as I said, indeed, had Ruto and Kenyatta taken the route that Raila had suggested, this would have been resolved within Kenya, and therefore the ICC would not have been involved. But apparently Ruto and Kenyatta did not actually know that this thing would pinch them and let Raila away. Now, quite clearly, as far as the ICC is concerned, as I said, I'm very critical about this organization, but for these guys deal with criminal evidence. So for them, it's a purely criminal thing based on the evidence which is available to them, and that's the line that they decided to take. That having been said, it's actually important, though, that in the event that Uhuru and Ruto actually win, ICC will be real, and that's a global fact. And Kenya will certainly have difficulties because America has taken a position, as America would. Europe has taken a position, as they have. I don't see them backing down on it, and particularly if they go through it and they go through a criminal evidence and they establish that there is a case against this case, it becomes rather difficult. So on this one, as I said, it would be they would have shot themselves in the foot. Unfortunately, on that occasion, the people who would be suffering are the Kenyans.
Well, Julius, the average Kenyan is complaining that Kibaki and Odinga should also be at The Hague for the same offense. So it's like, why is it that it's only Ruto and Kenyatta we're seeing facing the ICC?
Actually, there are four of them. There's Uhuru, there's Ruto, William Ruto, there's Sang, the journalist, and there's Francis Mudaura, the civil servant. I'll tell you why, because I was privileged to sit down with Ocambo in one table, and a colleague of mine raised the same question. Why is
ICC
it
prosecutor?
Yes, ICC prosecutor. Why is it that Kibaki or Raila have not been called to answer charges? Because at the end of the day, from common man's point of view, the conflict and the disagreement was just between the two of them, right? Not any other Kenyan. So what Ocambo said, which I can kind of quote, was that they're not looking into political responsibility, in which case Kibaki and Raila can come in. They were looking for criminal responsibility. And that's why you find the four in question. To correct again, you find that it's not that charges have to be established. They've already been established already. Right, yeah. They found, ICC has found that the four have a case to answer. Remember, they were six.
Yeah, they were
Two
six.
have already been found not responsible. So as we speak at the moment, that's where the case stands. As my friend Joseph spoke about, when it is all kicked off, there was debate, there were bills in parliament being voted for them to vote for local tribunal. Raila was supporting the local tribunal. As records have them, Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta were thinking, okay, let's go to the ICC. Let's go to the Hague. Little did they know, Hague will catch up with them faster than they mentioned those words. So as we are now standing now, of course, election will be on Monday, the 4th of March. But Raila, as even of today, is being quoted saying, if he wins the elections, he's going to call all the ICC cases back to Kenya. He's saying that if Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta wins, they cannot do that because they are suspects. And a suspect cannot dictate to any court where they can be prosecuted.
And that is, you don't think that would be a big problem for Kenya?
It's got interesting implications because at the end of the day, ICC is a reality. You cannot wish it away. Now, supposing Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto win, they are both running mate and the president. So it means if they have to go to The Hague, they both go. The country doesn't have the president and the vice president. And of course, in a different way, critics of the two have said, like Raila Odinga said, you cannot govern a country through Skype.
Skype, yeah. Anyway, let's leave the ICC alone. Let's talk about something new for Kenyans, devolution of power. And I heard that rural Kenyans are happy about it because we're having a 47 county system of governance where we have governors and they'll be semi-autonomous. And you were saying, while we're discussing, you were saying something about it actually, that you have it already in Kenya, but they want to make it official. How is it going to work? 47 governors?
No, it's already kicked off, as in terms of the new constitution allows for devolution of power. And if you want to understand the Kenyan politics, before we had a centralized government. And centralized government, you had one president. This president, if you guys don't vote for him, is going to look away from your district or location, and it means you won't develop.
Yeah, no infrastructure for that
No
area.
infrastructure, nothing. You're simply punished and ignored because you didn't vote for that particular president in power. But thank God for the new constitution. Of course, the new constitution is not about politicians. Credit goes to Kenyans who have been fighting for changes since time immemorial to change the constitution, do away with the colonial constitution, write a Kenyan constitution by Kenyans. And as we speak, that's a reality. Now, this reality, you are talking about devolution of power. We are talking of decentralization of government. We are talking about, rather than one centralized government, you have 47 counties, whereby each county, you have a governor. A governor also will be in charge of all the resources that comes from their location. Because when it was centralized government, it meant that the president or the powers that be can always exploit resources from one region when the people from that location never benefited.
Okay, Elizabeth, let's look at your experience here, the local system in the UK. What advice do you have for Kenyans, especially this is a new system for them, devolution of power, local councils? Do you think it will work for them?
I believe it will. I believe it will work because, one, you're putting power back to the people where it belongs. Whereas, like my brother said, it was central and, one guy held all the power. But now you are answerable to the people who have elected you. You've got control over the economy in your own area. So it will work, I believe. It's just like the way we work here. In the council, you are given your own budget and you work right from the grassroots. And that is the way it's going to work in Kenya now. Whereas before, like my brother said, we had marginalized groups just because they didn't have any representation. But now, the way the devolution has gone, there is the distribution of power. So we will not have any groups. Like we talked about tribalism. We talked about, when it comes to elections, now that every single county has a representative. Now they can talk to their representative, they can discuss their own issues, they can discuss their own problems, and then before they bring them up to Parliament. Whereas before, it used to be an issue, it used to be a problem.
Well,
so I believe this is really good.
Well, I want to remind you of what the MPs did recently, that they voted a lot of money for themselves, even for their wives and for their children and all sorts of things. Don't you think that could also trickle down to the local councils?
Well,
Not really.
Not really. Well, now that every new item comes with its own challenges, and I believe now people are enlightened. People are learning.
Kenyans rose against their MPs then, and it really worked.
It will. Actually, even here we learned through that. And now people know, people have their eyes open. Even on us as councillors, people have their eyes open and everything has to go in public now. We have the public website where anybody who wants to find out my expenses, the MP's expenses. And I believe even in Kenya, we are learning through that. So like I said, every change comes with its own challenges. But I believe it's going to be open, it's going to be transparent, where everybody can find out how the money has been used, where the resources are coming from, and how they're dispensing, whatever resources they have.
Yeah, talking about accountability and people knowing their rights now. Joseph, I want to talk about technology in African politics or African elections, especially looking at Kenya. Do you think technology could help in Monday's elections?
I think it will, and Kenya leads in the ICT in the region. Kenya generally, in terms of the quality of their own our civil servants, again, still lead in the region. The quality of the civil service at the moment, you still say that Kenya actually does better than any other country in the region. Uganda used to do quite well on civil service, but it's a different situation. So from that point of view, they've got a huge advantage. I only understand that the biometrics, I was getting some reports this morning that suggest that there are probably about 13,000 missing voters, and this is from the Electoral Commission, a spokesperson, I think, a couple of days ago. 13,000 to me was probably not a big number, but it also shows that these systems, if they can fail in America, they'll fail anywhere else. But beyond that, I think Kenya has actually done quite well on ICT generally in the last 10 years, and I think beyond elections, considering that actually up to 63% plus of its economy is service sector led, it actually quite shows that on a daily basis they're really doing quite well. And so from that point of view, I think it's positive.
Julius, you were monitoring President Kibaki's speech to the nation. What do you think could be done, or measures that could be taken to make sure that we don't have any post-election violence and shame the Western media, even with all the predictions, doomsday predictions?
Well, I'm a journalist by profession, and I know what is normal does not sell, all right?
Yeah, you said that earlier.
and therefore, chaos is dramatic, and media loves drama. And therefore, the rest of the Western media is just waiting to see, are they pulling out machetes? Aha, there's a story. They'll send their correspondents there. But sorry.
But what can Kenyans do to change that?
Exactly. I think what's going to happen is different. And what's going to happen at the moment, there's a lot of mobilization of peace initiatives from within the Kenyan, and also reconciliation, and also shaking of the political system. Because at the end of the day, there's no single politician who is within their comfort zone. They had to find, to reach out to someone they couldn't see eye to eye before to work together. A typical example, the current Raila Odinga working together with Kalonzo Musyoka, they spend the rest of coalition government opposing each other. And therefore, no politician who is working within their comfort zone. But what does that mean to the rest of the country? It means that there's been political shaking. No one is standing on their feet, and therefore no wonder you saw politicians repenting in public and the prayers and all. So there will be peace. That I can say for sure. What can be done? I think the future government of Kenya, whoever wins, the key thing is to fully implement the new constitution, because there was a lot of consultation done before it was written. And that constitution represents the wishes of Kenyans. And it has increased tremendously the democratic space and the rights of people, citizens themselves. And if it can be implemented fully, Kenya will never be the same again.
Okay, Julius, sorry, I know you're not the most influential son of Kenya, but let's hear from the most influential son of Kenya. And just like you gave advice on what to do to make sure that there is no election violence after the whole thing, President Barack Obama of the United States has this message for all Kenyans, even Africans as a whole.
Habari yako. Over the years, I've been greatly moved by the warmth and spirit, the strength and resolve of the Kenyan people. And I've been grateful for my connection to Kenya and the way you've welcomed me and my family to your beautiful country, from my father's village in Alego to bustling Nairobi. In my visits, I've seen your progress. Kenya's lifted people from poverty, built an emerging democracy and civil society, and sustained a spirit of hope in the face of great difficulty. After the turmoil of 5 years ago, you've worked to rebuild communities, reform institutions, and pass a new constitution. Now Kenya must take the next step in March with the first national elections under your new constitution. We all know what makes for successful elections. Kenya must reject intimidation and violence and allow a free and fair vote. Kenyans must resolve disputes in the courts, not in the streets. Above all, the people of Kenya must come together before and after the election to carry on the work of building your country. The choice of who will lead Kenya is up to the Kenyan people. The United States does not endorse any candidate for office, but we do support an election that is peaceful and reflects the will of the people. This election can be another milestone toward a truly democratic Kenya defined by the rule of law and strong institutions. If you take that step and reject a path of violence and division, then Kenya can move forward towards prosperity and opportunity that unleashes the extraordinary talents of your people, especially young people. If you continue to move forward, you can build a just Kenya that rejects corruption and respects the rights and dignity of all Kenyans. This is a moment for the people of Kenya to come together instead of tearing apart. If you do, you can show the world that you are not just a member of a tribe or ethnic group, but citizens of a great and proud nation. I can't imagine a better way to mark the 50th anniversary of Kenyan independence. And I say to all of you who are willing to walk this path of progress, you will continue to have a strong friend and partner in the United States of America.
Well, the greatest inspiration any Kenyan could ever think of. Yeah, let's look at quickly. We have just 2.5 minutes to go, but I want to also look at the other candidates. We've got so many of them, but we've been talking about Kenyatta, Ruto, and Odinga. But let's start from the lady, Martha Karua. They said she's the leading female candidate, and she used to be the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs before she fell out with President Kibaki. Anything you want to say about her? To
be honest, I admire that lady. She's a personal friend, and if I had my vote, I openly say I would have supported her. Especially one, she's a lady and she's come out strong in front of all those gentlemen. But at the moment, I have a feeling that Kenyans still feel that Kenya is not of age where a woman should be the president. And I say that with a lot of reservations because I'm sure if I put my name forward for even an MP or a woman representative, they would still kind of feel like I'm not the right person. But, you know, I would urge my sister, Martha Karua, to keep pushing on. She might not get it this time round. I'm not too sure. She might not get it. But definitely she has proved, and we have proved to the world that even as women, we are still there. I'm really encouraged by her move. I'm encouraged by her courage. I
hope she makes it next time.
She will. She will.
Okay, quickly, another prominent candidate that's not so prominent, Mudavadi. Joseph, I want you to quickly talk about him. He was Ruto Kenyatta's running mate in 2002. So what do you think about Mudavadi's chances?
It's a pity, really. He's a nice guy, but he's going, unfortunately, not very far. I think really the rest between the two people. But I must say that Barack Obama's speech is an inspiration not only to Kenyans but to all Africans. And I really, really hope for Kenyans, they listen and they follow what he's got to say. Because I think a lot is at stake for Kenyans, but I think Kenyans, with the successful elections, they'll do very well with global support. Okay, and any of the other candidates you think we can quickly...
It's fair to quickly talk about Professor Kiapi. We need to talk about Peter Kenneth, Honorable Peter Kenneth, Martha Karua. We need to talk about Mudavadi. And also Dida, who has really done tremendous in the presidential debates.
You think they have any outside chance of winning?
I'll quickly say this. They're all presidential candidates. You can't put anyone down. Actually, it's up to Kenyans. We'll only know after, faith will know who has won. They all have equal chance.
Okay. Thank you very much to everybody. Let's hope for success in tomorrow's elections. Many thanks to our panelists, Joseph Ochieno, Africa expert and analyst. We also got Elizabeth Kangeta. She's done very well. She's a councillor at London Borough of Barking and Dagenham, and Julius Mbaluto, the broadcaster and political analyst. Remember, you can monitor the elections on Vox Africa News. From me and the production crew led by Jones Awuer, we say goodbye and success to Kenyans.